So the next topic is creating documents and links in actual DMS. So for some background, storing documents on a network. If your documents are all on a network drive, remember the idea of don't want to use the personal map drive letters. So you could have a directory protocol like the planner by planner group, so everything for a certain planner is in one folder in a maintenance, branching off a maintenance folder. So you have to have some sort of network structure so people can, get the files easier to where they when they want to link them to SAP. Once they're linked into SAP, then the people don't have to travel those network paths anymore. They just find them in SAP and see them attached to objects. So you should still, when you're creating documents, follow naming conventions for the file name and keep the file name short and sweet. So if you're doing like equipment manuals, then you might want to have like the equipment type or document type as the first part, like maybe OEM or manual, the word manual, and then the asset type, like if it's a pump, and then the manufacturer name and model number. Sometimes you need to keep your file sizes small for certain applications in SAP. Like we tried to keep all our images for our material masters small, like under, I think it was 50K or something. And so we found a batch processing software program that anything you put in that folder automatically sizes it to what we had as a preset setting. So linking, remember, again, mentioned this a few times, avoid mapping like user map drives. Avoid renaming. Once you get your files in location, if you rename them or rename the folders, all your links into SAP are severed. So printing issues. Oh, before I get into that, one thing I should mention, to edit documents after you've linked them in SAP, you edit them from within SAP. You don't have to go back into your folder structures to make modifications to your files. So printing issues. Avoid direct JPEG links and attachments, say to work orders or notifications. If you're going to do that, just make sure when you go to print it that it prints out how you want it to print out. I prefer to use Word templates so I can get them to size perfectly. I can have multiple pictures on a single sheet of paper. So using templates I find is the best way to go. Again, Word does a nice compression, and also it can auto format the images to the grid of the table. That's a feature of the settings of the table. And the beauty too, you can have callouts and so on. Arrows pointing to things. So creating an actual document in SAP, there is a feature called data carriers. Now data carriers, basically it's a file path that you can store with say a little like a nickname, so that your document creator doesn't have to travel through that whole path every time. So it will make it easier for them and also more consistent, that people are putting or like creating files or linking to the files in the right spot. Use templates like I mentioned where possible for like checklists and manuals. I have a template for Word manual so that it already has a table of contents, all the page numbers and everything like that. So the company logo, so that way it makes it consistent for everybody, and it makes it a lot easier for people who are not experts at using Word. Document types. In configuration, you have to decide what document types you want to use and what you want them to be able to be attached to, and so on. So like you might have a document type for drawings, like DWG is a 3-letter acronym. For manuals, maybe OEM or MAN. So you have to decide what you want for the different document types. So it's not really application, like what software runs the files. It's the kind of categorization of the document. So SAP DMS does do versioning if you want it. You can also turn it off. So if you're doing all your versioning in SharePoint, then you don't want that feature in SAP. You should turn it off, because otherwise people sometimes accidentally create a version of a file when they're in the create mode, and they accidentally they save and they accidentally go back in to the same screen. They're back in create mode creating a new version of the same file. So that's a problem we've seen many times. Release strategy. You decide by the document type, like say manuals, that whether it has to go through an approval process or not. So sometimes people would say, well, manuals are linked by a planner. The manual doesn't need to go through approval. It came from the manufacturer, so no approval is required. So defaults goes in already approved. You can have your documents auto-numbered, so every document you create just gets the next number in the series, just like work order numbers. Or you can have them so you can manually put in a naming convention for that document. So the naming conventions, of course, you have to define them. It makes it easier to search for documents too if they're all following a proper naming convention. So here's the actual screen to create a document in SAP, a document management system document. So the screen transaction code is CV01N. Now, one thing I like to teach people is whenever you're looking for a transaction and you don't remember the detail, it works for most transactions. If you type just the first two letters, like in this case CV with 00, what it does, it changes the SAP menu to a focused menu on that topic. So the SAP menu underneath favorite menu will change temporarily to everything dealing with document management, and you'll see all the T codes. You just click the button SAP menu to bring back the full SAP menu. It's very easy. Anyway, so that's a little tip of the day. Now when you choose CV01N and you go to that transaction, this is the screen that you'll see on the bottom right hand corner here. So if your document's auto-numbered, you just leave the document, that yellow field, that first field blank. It'll give you a number automatically. But you need to specify the document type. Down below is if you're going to be creating a new document based on a template. We'll cover that later on the more specific course on DMS.